right? And that these products out there that we're just, taking could almost be like dangerous, or could be like, they're definitely not helpful, all of them. They're not backed by science. And there was another study that just came out. I think I showed you that it was like 66% of products. They did a test. Let me see if I have this here. They did a test of 121 probiotic products, and 66% of them did not contain what was marked on the bottle.
Wow.
121. So they did 100, like, of the top probiotic brands out there. They took them all. 66% didn't even have the strain that was listed on the package. So it's like, that's what I mean by it's like the Wild West. Like, you don't even know what you're getting. And then, it's just, I found so many probiotic myths out there. One of them is the CFU count. It doesn't mean much, and it could even be hurtful, like it was in my case. CFU is colony forming units, for anybody that doesn't know. And it's, I guess, it's the 10 billion, 20 billion. And the best dose is really the one that has been tested in human clinical trial and showed a positive health outcome. That's all you need. So that's all you need to have in the bottle. So you don't need 50 billion in the bottle if in the clinical trial it was 2 billion that worked. So that was like one of the big myths that we discovered. And the reason that I kind of figured that out is because, I think I told you this, we went to the National Eczema Association last year. It's been canceled this year, the annual event in Phoenix. Met a lot of people there. In fact, a lot of people that have the topical steroid withdrawal, very similar to yourself, for like 20 years. So we were able to help some people there. Our first customer, Emily, is pretty interesting. Very similar story to you, where for 20 years, she was just prescribed topical steroids. And at a certain point, like you said, it stops working, and then you become addicted to it, right? And then I think your body stops producing cortisol, and then you have to take it for the rest of your life. Or you have to stop, and then you have topical steroid withdrawal, which I don't know much about, but I've heard the stories, which are nightmarish, it sounds like. So a few years ago, she decided to stop doing the topical steroids, and she's going through that now. So you think, could be like 3 to 8 years where you're on withdrawals, right?
Yeah, and some of the pictures out there are really sad to see, just because they look so miserable. Their skin is flaking off, and it's red, it's irritated, and that's 24/7. Like, when I was suffering, I couldn't sleep because the pain I was in every single second. And you can't move. Every time you move, it feels like someone's pinching you 1,000 times. And that's what it feels like. It's like, I would rather get waterboarded than have severe eczema, honestly, because that pain is just constant. It's nagging, constant pain.
Oh my God, awful.
Yeah. And for the viewers and listeners out there, just to summarize, at grocery stores, you see a bunch of probiotics and you're sold on the marketing because it has the number of CFUs is like 60 or 90 billion. And most people are uninformed about probiotics or misinformed, and they just buy whatever's on the shelf. Well, the biggest problem is that they only show the genus and species of bacteria. They don't show the strain of bacteria. There are hundreds of different strains in one species, and each strain has a health benefit or it can damage your health. And what Eric is saying is Skinessa has strains of bacteria that have been proven in clinical studies to improve the skin. And it was published in a leading dermatology journal. And in 90 days, over 90% of participants saw healthier skin.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can add a little point to that too. Yeah, in order to be a probiotic, you technically need to have genus, species, and strain. So if that's not on the back of the bottle, that's technically, you can't even define that as a probiotic. I mean, maybe, but how are you going to look up a species? How you can't Google that. And that's the other thing that the probiotic companies will do, is they can put 10 probiotic strains in a bottle, and you can see them all in the back. And then you can look up the strains, like, oh, this one was studied on this one was studied on this. oh, this one was studied on skin, this one has skin, but they combine them with all of these. So now you have 10 and all tested for different things, but it looks good. But then what I learned is that they'll include these ground-based organisms, like the Bacillus coagulans, Bacillus subtilis, some of these other ones that are beneficial. They can be great. And these are live organisms, so they're difficult to keep alive on the shelf. So if you put these soil organisms in there, they'll stay alive forever. You can throw them on the shelf and 50 million years. I mean, something crazy like that. They're in the ground. They can last for a long, long time. They're just like in a state of suspended animation until they get in your gut. So what they do, the point that I'm trying to get to is that, let's say there's a bottle of 30 billion. Well, they'll put Bacillus subtilis in there, and that'll be 29 billion. And then they'll include 10 awesome strains that you can Google and see all these incredible results, but that'll be 1 billion. And so you'll get 29 billion plus of the Bacillus subtilis, guaranteeing that you're gonna get 30 billion CFUs with the, you know, with the 1 billion that they described to me as window dressing. Because when we first started out, we started looking into these products that, you know, like maybe this will help people generally for skin if we include all the good strains in one bottle. But that's one of the like kind of secrets that they'll do is, you know, support the product with a ground-based organism that have a long shelf life, but then you won't get the benefits of all of the other ones because they're not in there really. They're just window dressed.
And most of these generic probiotics don't even really reach your gut because they might be digested away by the stomach acid. So could you describe how your probiotics survive the digestion process?
Yeah, that's really interesting because we were really looking into that closely. And that's another thing that's in marketing, right? Is you'll see when you're shopping for probiotics is that our strains are guaranteed to survive the stomach and get where they need to go into the small intestine. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we read that and we asked the scientist about that. And it turns out that, you know, they used a veggie cap in our studies. So nothing special. These strains get to where they need to go and show up on the skin, show up clear in your skin. So in our case, the answer is we don't know where exactly they go. They haven't been tested if they survive the stomach acid or where they go exactly. That would be another study. But what they found is that for 92% of people, after 90 days, that it clears up their skin. So that would be a different study. And when we were formulating it with these experts, as novices, we were like, well, how is it getting to the, small intestine? Isn't that where it needs to go? Shouldn't we use DR caps? And, we were talking when I went to Boston, I met with some experts I met the guys from DR caps, real sophisticated technology. They will get it to the small intestine, right exactly where it needs to go. They use it for medicine. So I said, should we use DR caps? It seems like we should. And, that goes back to science. And it's like, well, what proof do you have that DR caps are going to work? They didn't use DR caps in the study. They used veggie caps. So if we change the formula, not use what the experts used in the clinical trials, in the same exact CFUs, we didn't change anything, then we'd be changing the formula. What if we don't know the exact mechanism, exactly where it goes, how it's delivered? We just know it works on the skin. So if we change the delivery mechanism and we deliver the whole thing to the small intestine, then we don't know does it work better? Does it work worse? Wasn't a risk we were willing to take because it's working for 9 out of 10 people with a veggie cap. So it's interesting. I would like to know. We just don't know the answer if it survives the stomach acid or what exactly, or which strains do, which strains don't, or how it's absorbed. It's fascinating. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but based on the successful results, we're assuming that it survives the stomach acid and enters the small intestines where it needs to be in order to see the health benefit in the skin.
Yeah, you and I could say that.
Yeah, and majority of the people out there are uninformed about the entire supplement industry and how 90% is all marketing with no really science backing it up. And we really don't know the bioavailability of these nutrients and minerals that we take in and how it's actually converted inside the body.
Yeah, it's incredible, like these little nuances that in order to take things the right way, you just can't know as a consumer unless you stumble upon it, or you're told, or you're lucky enough to know the answers. And I think you and I have learned this, just like there's different, like if we were to create an algorithm, the different boxes that you need to check off. And we did this together when we first met. It's just like, you might be allergic to some things. Check your detergent, what's going on there. But in regards to like the nuances, it's like we have this microbial imbalance